So after almost a week of waiting, all of the content for Gran Turismo 7 Update 1.60 has been confirmed. However, before we do dive into everything included in Update 1.60, I'm trying to get this channel to 60,000 subscribers by the end of the year. So if you do want to stay up to date with everything Gran Turismo and motorsport gaming related, then feel free to leave a like, subscribe and turn your notifications on. Anyway, let's get to it. So Update 1.60's content is fully confirmed now. In terms of the cars, I did get my predictions correct. The cars are as follows: the Lancia Delta Group A rally car, an absolutely legendary car which is a must for any game featuring any type of off-road racing. Of course, we do have the Citroen BX, which I'm kind of on the fence about and I think could be fantastic if it receives the right customization and hopefully an engine swap. And unfortunately, the SUV trend continues with the Peugeot 2008. Now, of course, as always, when an update trailer is launched, it's accompanied by the blog post. So I'm going to go through the blog post and look at all of the confirmed content coming to update 1.60. Introducing the Gran Turismo 7 June update, adding 3 new cars including a historic rally icon. Gran Turismo 7 will receive an update tomorrow on the 26th of June 2025. If you want to see the exact time that the servers will go into maintenance mode for your region, then you can just look it up on the actual game itself. So the following is a list of contents included with update 1.60. Now, number 1 is 3 new cars, including a rally champion that won 6 consecutive titles and unfortunately a compact SUV. Okay, so the first car we get a look at is the Citroen BX19 TRS from 1987. As we can see in terms of the car itself, I believe this to be one of the later models. You can correct me if I'm wrong there, but I believe it got kind of a facelift in around about 1985. Again, when I was doing my research for this car last week, when I was looking into sort of the shapes and the silhouettes. In terms of the car itself, I genuinely have hope for this, and I think in terms of regular cars, it's one of the better decisions. Again, when a lot of people sit there and say, well, Gran Turismo is all about, you know, having everything in game, I fully agree with that, but I would much rather something like this than an SUV. I just think the kind of shame for the Citroen BX is the fact that it's come alongside another compact SUV, which honestly nobody wants. We're going to be totally honest there. In terms of the community, it's probably 1% that actually want those kind of vehicles. The rest of us don't. But in terms of everyday cars, I will say the Citroen is one of the better decisions for those everyday vehicles, just like with the classic Gran Turismo games. So for me personally, I'm genuinely looking forward to seeing what I can do with it. And if there's anything that Polyphony stepped up in 2025, even when the cars have been absolutely dreadful, it's the customization and pretty much transforming the car into something completely different. If this thing receives a decent engine swap down the line, receives decent customization on launch, then it could be a pretty decent, I guess, weird and zany car that's been added here. Of course, after this is the main talking point of the update, and in my opinion, one of the better cars that they've probably ever added. That is the Lancia Delta HF Integrale Rally Car 1992. I believe this was the final year of the Delta when it comes to the WRC. Of course, it won 6 on the trot in terms of its motorsport heritage, so it is all fully there. Now, a lot of people will sit there and say, well, it's copy-paste. Well, it's not. It's a completely different machine from what we see with the road-going variant. This is the full version, and it's probably going to be absolutely ridiculous. The last rally car we got was the Subaru Impreza rally car, and that turned out to be one of my personal favorites for the entirety of last year and one of my personal favorites of all time. And when it comes to the Lancia Delta, well, honestly, it's absolutely legendary in every single sense of the word. So really excited to see this one, and honestly, they need to start stepping in the right direction when it comes to bringing these legend cars back, which I believe they've done with the Delta, and hopefully we can see like the 037 and such a little later down the line. Okay, the third and final car we're going to talk about is the Peugeot SUV 2008 Allure from 2021. I will straight up say at least this is a petrol variant, it seems, which means that it isn't going to suffer from the same issues of the Toyota and Honda. Of course, they were incredibly limited when it comes to the customization, and if they do absolutely smash it with the customization for this thing, then it could be a decent laugh for a few minutes. And in terms of the engine, from what I believe, it's the 1.2 PureTech engine, which is notorious for being one of the worst modern day engines. So I wonder if they'll go maybe down the sort of engine swap route with this car. Now, of course, when it comes to this type of vehicle, I will be straight up honest, I am absolutely sick of seeing these things turn up. I get in terms of, you know, the modern day grocery getters and stuff, it kind of fits the bill. However, when we say we want these kind of more everyday type vehicles, we're more than likely referring to something like the Citroen from back in the 80s, or something like the Mazda Demio and such from the early Gran Turismo games. Those are kind of the everyday cars we loved with Gran Turismo games of previous. And the thing with the previous Gran Turismo games, there was the balance of kind of everyday cars and race cars, where GT7 has had pretty much all of these meme cars added without the balance off or trade of having a race car added as, you know, alongside it to kind of balance it out. In this sense, it kind of has. It's had the Lancia, of course, that's a great car, but in terms of what else they could be adding, it is a huge shame that we're getting something like this again and again and again every single update. I believe there's not been a single update this year that hasn't featured one of these compact SUVs, and I just hope this trend with polyphony just dies off after the Peugeot. Alright, number 2, one extra menu will be added to the cafe. That is extra menu number 46, which is collection of Mercedes-Benz, and I'm going to be straight up here, you're going to be spending over 20 million if you want to get this one complete. As you can see, the 20 million car alone is the 1950s Mercedes-Benz Formula 1 car. Of course, we have the Unimog as well, and I believe that is the Gullwing SLK. I'm probably totally wrong on that one, I always get them mixed up, but in terms of, you know, getting this one done, it's going to be perhaps the most expensive one we've ever seen. We also have number 3, which is new World Circuit events will be added. So the following events, again coming in a pack of 3, is the Sunday Cup at Willow Springs International Raceway on the streets of Willow Springs Reverse. So it's actually nice to see a variant actually, you know, get some use for once. We then have the European Sunday Cup 400 at Watkins Glen Short Course, and the World Rally Challenge Group B at Colorado Springs Lake. Again, a track that really never gets a look in. Number 4, more Gran Turismo Sophie compatible tracks will be added. I don't know why they're saying tracks when it's a singular track. So it's Alsace on the village layout, which is actually quite decent, and it's nice to see Sophie continuing to spread out more into different parts of the game. Of course, we do have the 2.1 Sophie available now, and we did get the showcase of some type of B-spec mode at the end of last year. So it does seem that Sophie AI is going in the right direction, and hopefully they just continue to expand it, because I think this is one of the best things that Gran Turismo has going for it, and I definitely hope it continues to get upgraded. 5, Scotland will be added as a featured creation in Scapes, and that is everything included with update 1.60. Again, as expected, a smaller type of update, and the best way to know this is when Kaz goes ahead and posts up his silhouettes, he'll mention the word big in terms of the update, if it's going to include something like a track or be more focused in terms of a bigger, more fleshed out update, which this one was never hinted at. There we go, that is everything included in Gran Turismo 7's free update for June 2025, or more commonly known as update 1.60. As for the content itself, what do I think? Well, I think it's very hit and miss once again. The Delta is absolutely incredible, it's just a shame it's surrounded by something like the Peugeot SUV. As for the Citroen BX, as I said, for me personally, I love the more kind of daily drivers in the previous Gran Turismo titles, so for me that one's right up my alley, and I hope it has the customization and performance upgrades to really kind of build something entirely different from what we receive with the standard car there. Now, of course, tomorrow we'll receive the content update notes. Now, those typically include the engine swaps, any fixes that they've got, and of course some of the more hidden details inside the update itself. So I'll be back tomorrow morning to go through all of those before I start my full coverage on update 1.60 for the next few days. Now, as for what you guys think of the content update, there is no point in me asking, because it's going to be a 50-50 split of those asking for this, and this, and then the original Gran Turismo fans will come in and say, you don't understand what Gran Turismo is all about, and then of course it will just be rinse and repeat, and honestly it's all I've seen recently, so I'm gonna just kind of leave that one and probably not be in the comment section much today. Again, I do have to go out and work my day job this afternoon, so I'm going to go over and do that, and I'll be back the very first thing in the morning tomorrow when the update notes are released to go through them with you and begin my coverage of 1.60. Take care guys, peace.